Great to have you in with us here on another edition of Longshore and McKnight. John Longshore is right there. I'm Barry McKnight. And we are underway with this edition of the program. Great to have you with us. Not much sleep last night. Getting a little trip into Auburn yesterday, and it was a late one. It was a long one. Auburn in baseball beats Troy last night by a final score of 7-6. They had a walk-off base hit in the bottom of the ninth to get the victory. Now both Auburn and Auburn and Troy are 3-1 on this season. Great experience. It was my first look inside of the new Plainsman Park in Auburn with the new configuration and all of that. And the press box is over in the corner, just like in football. I don't love that. That does not do a lot for me. But the broadcast booth, for me and Andy Burcham, they've reconfigured that. Now I'm over on the right side, but we're still behind home plate. But like all the press, all the Jason Caldwells and Brian Matthews and all those, they are over in the corner. But it is a beautiful park, nice little upper deck down the right side and all that. But would have loved a Troy win. Troy had a 6-4 lead for the majority of the game. Troy led for, I think, 6 innings. Or 7 innings out of the 9, but was not to be. Auburn tied it up, and then in the bottom of the 9th inning, got a base hit to win it. 7-6 was the final score there, and so we move on. Like I said, not very much sleep overnight for sure. Still trying to get John's audio. I hope everybody can hear me, at least. So we are getting underway here. Basketball tonight. This was what I'm heard a lot of last night. I'm catching up with Auburn friends that I hadn't seen in a little while. Basketball, over and over and over again. Boy, it's a basketball school. I've never heard as much. Yesterday was Andy Burcham's birthday. I ate a couple cupcakes in his behalf and everything, and we're talking about the basketball team. Got a big one tonight. Auburn will play at home against Arkansas. It's a late start time, 8 o'clock start time. And right at the very same time, Alabama has a tough one at Missouri. That's also at 8 o'clock. The Auburn game's on ESPN. The Alabama game is on the SEC network. And for Alabama, tough road trip. Missouri's good. Plus, Chris Stewart posted a tweet yesterday. It is 9 degrees wind chill in Columbia, Missouri right now with snow on the ground. God bless him. Ugh. I don't know how I would do with that. I don't think I would do it very well. We're going to break down the baseball game in just a little bit. Bill from Baltimore checks in. Do you keep all of your scorecards for every baseball game you do? And I don't. I'm saving all of the scorecards I've got, for this year, because this year I'm doing football, men's basketball, a little women's basketball, women's soccer, women's volleyball, and a whole bunch of other stuff, just seeing how many score sheets and spotting charts I've got. And it's a lot. But, yeah, I keep my baseball scorebook, but I throw it away at the end of the year. There's just really no need to. I'm hearing something from John. Hearing something from over there. There he is.
Yeah, you hear me now? Yeah.
Yep, I got you. Ready to go.
I wish you would have been hearing what I was saying while I was trying to get this connected, but well, I don't know. The FCC doesn't regulate us, so it really doesn't matter.
You can say what you want. Yeah.
But what the hell? It's always something every day, it seems like. So we plowed through this morning, but really don't know what you were talking about. But I was reading how unfortunate Troy loses what off a
Yeah.
walk-off hit last night. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought that if it wasn't my morning Wednesday coffee with Philip today. He informed me of that in that column.
Did he? Because I saw
Yes.
another column from Philip
Yeah.
where he was going through the ups and downs of the Bowden years.
Hadn't read that one yet. I haven't got to that yet.
I don't think I'm going to peruse that one. I have, there's some things Philip writes about. I enjoy a good softball column from Philip. John does not. John enjoys going through the ups and downs of the Terry Bowden years. And I like Terry. He's been a guest with us multiple times. But I don't want to hear about the ups and downs of the Bowden years because you know what?
Yeah.
That was 28 years ago.
Well, unless Philip, and there again, I haven't read the piece yet, but unless there's something in there about that black book and all that business and what was going on prior to when Bowden arrived, allegedly, and what happened and what that black book details, I don't want to read it. I don't want some fluff piece about, oh, yeah, whatever.
Is that all that you categorize? That entire tenure? The 11-0 year, the SEC, the unbeaten year when they were on probation, the Otis Mounds and the Marquise Cooper and the all of that. All you care about, the only category you look for is this black book with Terry Bowden. That's the only thing John remembers or cares about from that entire tenure. Something like 68 games that he coached at all.
Soon you forget. The biggest highlight in my mind of the Terry Bowden era at Auburn is when he ran across what is now Pat Dye Field with his arms raised up in the air after, I think, winning 20 games in a row. And at that moment in time, he was more popular than Pat Dye.
Yeah. I'm not going to fall for the bait this time. John's been doing that to me for years. I mentioned yesterday during the baseball broadcast, Auburn had a pitcher, and I actually said this we had the radio broadcast last night. I actually said this. Auburn's second pitcher was a guy named Jackson Sanders, and I mentioned on the air that he shares both names with the two greatest two-sport athletes in sports history, Jackson Sanders. And, of course, we all know who number one was. But John likes to kind of get me on that. At no point, and you Auburn chatters on here, John from Wetumpka, Bill from Baltimore, John Dent, you Auburn, Theotis, all of you Auburn guys, let him know at no point, there was never a breath that Terry Bowden ever took in his life in which he was more popular than Pat Dye. Ever.
I don't know.
Ever. I mean, if for some reason, and I don't think it was very likely, that you were to see Pat Dye and Terry Bowden walking together back in the mid-90s when Terry was coaching at Auburn.
Yeah. Okay.
Bunch of people there, busy thoroughfare, walking down the street, talking about Paul Davis, the former editor of that newspaper in Auburn. And just enjoying the time together. And fans got together and said, hey, look. You know what they're saying, John? They're saying, hey, look, there's Pat Dye. You want to go get his autograph? Even when Terry was at his highest and he had the 4-interception game to beat the LSU Tigers that year in Curly Holman. Yeah.
I don't know how they would have found or seen Dye because he was out busy, raising money for the Auburn athletic department, allegedly. Yeah. So you wouldn't have seen him because he was so busy out doing those things. You probably wouldn't have been able to get an autograph. But, Dye never won 20 games in a row and, was beating Bama, like it was nothing to it. And there again, Terry runs across the field with his arms raised high to the sky. And at that moment in time, Jim Nantz uses that a lot. You're going to hear it in the next couple of weeks. In that one moment in time, Terry Bowden was more popular than Pat Dye, who had gotten Auburn on probation, threw him in the ditch, embarrassing the Eric Ramsey deal. And here's Terry about to raise Auburn out of the ashes, the phoenix rising from the ashes at Pat Dye Field, and people were going crazy. They loved Tater Tot at that time in his career.
Oh, there's no doubt they loved him. There's no doubt they loved him. I am not saying that he was not immensely popular, but Pat Dye, I'm saying no.
I don't know.
We've gotten this before, and we actually followed up on this, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. We'll detail the Auburn-Troy game. John from Wetumpka, you're right. It was a really good game. What really hurt Troy were 3 errors that led to 5 unearned runs, five of their 8. But we get this from Shaker Jack. And he did this. He asked this the other day. He says, "What is the deal with Kalen DeBoer and Cedarian Morgan? Heard about it again this morning on the Auburn Sports Blitz. Is DeBoer really that dumb? If he cannot relate to in-state kids, he needs to go. Losing the number 1 player in the state, who is an Alabama fan, to Auburn is unacceptable." Shaker Jack, we saw that the other day, and either John or me, one of us asked Brian Matthews about him. And he says, well, I don't know that was ever an Alabama commit. I don't know that he is an Auburn commit. That's not me saying it. That's Brian saying it. I know on their website, which is a Rivals website, they've got Cedarian Morgan, who's the number 1 player in the state, a wide receiver out of Alexander City, as a 66% lean to Auburn. Not 70, not 67. It's 66%.
2/3
lean.
The lean. 2/3 of the lean. Okay.
Now, I don't know about the Auburn Sports Blitz, but losing the number 1 player in the state who is an Alabama fan to Auburn is unacceptable. I don't know. I don't know that they've done that yet. Don't give up the ship. He's a 2026, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, have they lost him yet? I get the sense this is going to be kind of a back and forth. Going to be a lot going on here. I mean, Brian mentioned that he's got a very good friend from his high school team that's at Auburn.
Correct.
Something of that nature. I've said this a lot lately. Well, I've said it for over 30 years. Shaker Jack, would you rather have the number 1 player in the state or the number 2 class overall? I mean, aren't you trying to build the best class with the best athletes out there? Does it really matter where they're from? I mean, so what if he's from the state of Alabama? Is he going to play harder? Is he going to maybe give you a little bit more effort because he grew up in Alabama and was a fan of Auburn or the Crimson Tide? I've never understood that. I know there again, it's kind of like being a number 1 seed. Ooh, we dominated in state. So what? I mean, what's the overall rating of your class? To me, that's the most important.
Shaker Jack says DeBoer upset his grandmother during his in-home visit. I'm from Alex City. He has ticked off a lot of Alabama high school coaches too. Huh. Now, upsetting your grandmother, that is unacceptable. I don't know about losing an Alabama fan, an in-state kid is unacceptable, but ticking off your grandmother is unacceptable.
Do you have any details of what actually was going on? Did Granny not get as much money as she thought she should be getting? I mean, what ticked her off?
Did she?
What is the board doing that is upsetting high school coaches in this state?
Did she make her fabled green bean casserole and presented it to him, and he pushed the plate off to the side and said, "No."
I've not heard that.
That's interesting.
I know tomorrow when we check in with Jason Caldwell and Rodney Orr, who follow recruiting closely, we'll get a little bit more insight on this. As a matter of fact, I've written that young man's name down to make sure we do ask the 2 of them tomorrow. But hey, look, you're going to hear a lot of stories like this, and a lot of it is because of Hugh Freeze at Auburn. There again, said it for years. They got to hire Hugh Freeze. He knows how to recruit the South. He's been in the SEC. He knows what Auburn wants, and you're seeing that play out. Now, granted, the wins and losses on the field are not where Auburn people want them to be, but you got to build depth. You got to build a recruiting class with impact players. I believe they're doing that, and they're getting out there and getting in some pretty good fights with other schools on the recruiting trail. So you're going to hear more about this. As far as I see, DeBoer's done pretty well on the recruiting trail, but for some reason some people are getting caught up in, well, he doesn't have enough in-state players. You know, if Auburn wins the game in November, are people going to go, you know, we don't have enough in-state players? What are we going to hear?
Shaker Jack says, maybe this is the classic. I love this. And Shaker Jack, I'm not criticizing you. I love this this line of thinking. This is the duck hunting line of thinking, John. Shaker Jack says, maybe if he was not watching his daughter play softball, he could recruit better in-state. Blowing off high school coaches and players' parents is unacceptable. That's the duck hunting thing. Well, Tuberville's out there duck hunting. He's not Tuberville. I mean, he was duck hunting at the holidays or something like that. You know, it's the same thing. Blowing off high school coaches and players' parents is unacceptable. Okay. Blowing off your daughter is unacceptable too. I am totally on team. Watch your children play if you get the chance. Golly, honey, I'd love to watch you play collegiate softball, but I got this kid in Alexander City I've got to schmooze.
I'll say this. I don't know. Look, if you got some details of what parent and what young man he blew off and didn't give him the love that they thought he should be getting, I'd like to know who that is, or multiple people who that is, Shaker Jack. Maybe I should have never brought up the fact that someone tipped me off that DeBoer was in the Birmingham airport about to board a Southwest flight to Phoenix the day of the Auburn-Alabama basketball game. Probably shouldn't, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Who knows? But Nick Saban probably wouldn't have done that. He probably wouldn't have gone to Phoenix to go see one of his children play softball. He's just a different kind of recruiter. He was intense, and it was all he thought about and all he did. Maybe DeBoer's not that way. We'll see. But so far, the numbers tell us he's a pretty good recruiter.
I appreciate your love for your hometown and everything. I love Alex City, but to me, I don't see that's a big issue yet. And it morphs into he refused to meet with players after home games in Tuscaloosa. That's a joke. They could not find DeBoer for 3 hours after the Iron Bowl. It seems as though things are going well on the recruiting trail, Shaker Jack. Believe me, I'm no Alabama fan, but it seems like the number 2 recruiting class versus ticking off Sedarian Morgan's grandmother. I'm gonna think that the results sort of speak for themselves more than I could. Anyway, we are late for a break. We're underway on the Wednesday edition of this show. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of the 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitcher's duels and slugfests, Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
All right, welcome back, everybody. About 21 minutes past the hour on this Wednesday. CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, in about 10 minutes on the program. Kyle George from Troy going to join us at the top of the next hour. Yes, Dennis Mitchell was up early today. Dennis, we got all of your chats. We appreciate that. A lot of wrestling chats from Dennis today. And I'm getting a feel, Barry, the theme here that DeBoer is the Brian Harsin for Alabama.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, Shaker Jack says, we will see. Remember today when John wants to fire him in 9 months. Hey, he will lose his job if he doesn't win enough football games. He will get fired if he doesn't win enough. I don't know about this year, but in the future, that's what he's there to do, is to win football games. That's totally it. He will lose games if he doesn't recruit well. Again, I don't know Cedarian Morgan. I wouldn't know him if he sat in front of me. But Kalen DeBoer had the number 2 recruiting class in the country last year. If you fire him for not winning enough football games, I absolutely am on board with that. If you fire him because he ticked off Cedarian Morgan's grandmother, I don't know that that's a fireable offense. So, we shall see, sure, in 9 months, if they're 0-8 or 0-9 at that point. Yeah, I imagine there will be significant calls for him to get fired. I don't know that a whole lot of people are totally off the DeBoer train just because he's not recruiting in-state kids enough. He's got the number 2 class in the country and one of the best high school quarterbacks ever to play in Texas. He's not doing badly, I wouldn't think. I don't think you fire him for that, Shaker Jack, if that's what you're talking about.
Years ago, Barry, gee whiz, pre-Saban.
Yep.
Probably many years before pre-Saban, I would rant and rave about why in the world does Alabama concentrate on a 3-state area? I mean, this program is well known. People know about it. Why do they not recruit the entire country? It was like, we can't do that. We got to stay in our little tri-state area, and we're not going any further out than that. Saban arrives and they're recruiting everywhere. California, Hawaii, up north, overseas. I've never subscribed to this. In-state players play harder. It means more to them. Tell me how that is. When you're out there playing football and you get knocked in the mouth, are you going to play harder because you grew up in Ellick City?
Yeah. And you've got that love for the Crimson Tide or the Auburn Tigers in your heart. I mean, that helps. You probably stick it out a little bit more, I guess. I don't know. But I'm telling you, that day and age is so gone by and large. I mean, you'll have guys whose uncle played, you've known them your whole life. But to think that on 4th and 2 and you're on defense and they're driving late in the ball game and they're going to dig in a little bit deeper because they're from Double Springs or Eider or Demopolis or something like that, that day has gone.
Yeah, I totally agree. And particularly, Barry, now with NIL.
Exactly.
It's all about, what am I getting out of this deal?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm worried about me. I love my teammates, and I love running out of that tunnel on Saturday and everything that goes with it, and the band's playing and the Eagles flying and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's all about me and how I'm going to progress and move on and get to the next level, because every one of them thinks they're going to the NFL. I don't think they don't. The reality of it is, though, only about 2% are going to make it. If that. The mental picture appears to me of, say, a young kid from Montgomery, grew up on his daddy's knee, listening to stories about Al Bell with his great downfield blocking in the 85, 86 Iron Bowl. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Or, about how, they hunkered down at Auburn and had a goal line stand against Tennessee. Smokey Hodge stoned Chuck Webb or somebody. And I think, boy, this is really great. This is really great. You go to the games and you're playing cup. Well, it's way too late for that too. You go to the games with your Carnell Williams jersey on, and you wear it to school until your mom finally makes you take it off so she can wash it and everything. And you end up being an all-state football player, and everybody in your school is talking about, hey, man, that guy's always wearing an Auburn hat to school every day. There's no way. And then all of a sudden, here comes Alabama or Vanderbilt and say, here's $1 million of NIL. That bada changes real quick at that point.
Shaker Jack, I've got just a suggestion for you today.
All right.
This is a great topic. I'm glad you brought this up. It's been a good, lively discussion. We certainly can continue it.
Absolutely.
But maybe tonight, I don't know, maybe you'll have a different opinion tonight if you start watching The Tides That Bind. It is a 6-part series on Fox Nation where Alabama gave the producers limited access of the Kalen DeBoer startup in Tuscaloosa, in the locker room, in the practice field, at home eating dinner, the whole deal. And there's some previews of it. You can go take a look if you might want to engage later today. It's already dropped, to understand, at Fox Nation. It's a 6-part series. I did see the previews. And maybe after you see episode 1 today, tomorrow you can let us know if you have a different feeling about Kalen DeBoer, maybe the future of this program. I know, one 60-minute television show might not change your mind, but it might make you think a little bit now that you get some inside access, and you will for 6 episodes total. So let us know what you think if you take a look at that tonight.
Which would get better ratings? The Tides That Bind on Fox Nation, or a ESPN 30 for 30 called Bowden's Black Book?
Oh,
John,
ooh,
he's got to go on a month-long sabbatical, a month-long relief mission to Malawi or someplace.
Yeah.
And he's got one night left before his flight leaves. And they come on at the same time.
Yeah.
30 for 30, Bowden's Black Book, or episode 1 of The Tides That Bind, an inside look at the DeBoer family eating dinner together.
I think I know which one that would be. It depends on if it was the director's cut. I don't want anything on the cutting room floor.
No, I want it all.
Yeah, so I don't know. That would be tough.
Yeah.
But Shaker Jack, interesting topic today. Glad you got it going. We'll continue on with that. We're going to ask CJ Duncan about that as well. He's going to join us next after our break. He's with Yellowhammer News. He joins us each and every week, and we're looking forward to getting his take on a Wednesday.
It's coming up after this in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
All right, back at it. About 29 minutes to the top of the hour, as we do each and every Wednesday. Our man, CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, joining us here today. And CJ, man, hope you're having a good week. Good to see you today.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all doing?
Doing really, really well. Great to have you on with us here. You played a lot of basketball in your day. Have you really gotten a feel about the SEC this year? Have you really enjoyed watching how competitive that league is just as a casual fan?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. A casual fan when it comes to basketball these days. It's part of my life. But yeah, it's been incredible to watch. And matter of fact, I was in Nashville a couple weekends back and I saw my Commodores beat Texas. It's just there's a lot of parity around the league where, any given weekend, it feels like you've got an opportunity to win a basketball game. So it's good to see. Back in the day, it used to be just football and then baseball kind of caught up. And then you kind of had the break in between football and baseball. Now it's year round. The SEC is the best conference in the world.
Yeah, it's exciting, CJ. I'm with you. I mean, Barry and I have talked about it a lot. I mean, we have friends that are kind of making plans. Wait a minute, there's a game tonight. I got to make sure I got that 2-hour window cleared. Or on the weekends, hey, let's get together and watch the game. That never was the case. There again, it was all about how's signing day going and when does spring football start.
No, absolutely. I live in the Homewood area in Birmingham, and the traffic that was just in that little space of Birmingham that day when Auburn played Alabama, it was incredible. I said, "What's going on here? Is the president here, or what?" It was bad. But that's how excited people are about basketball these days.
Well, today, probably as we speak, they're getting underway with a big meeting down in New Orleans today between the SEC athletic directors and the Big Ten athletic directors to discuss their leverage that they've got in college football about changing the college football playoff system and giving themselves not only automatic qualifier bids. I think, John, it's 4 for the SEC, 4 for the Big Ten, a couple for the ACC, a couple for the Big 12, and 1 for the Group of 5. And if not, I guess the SEC and the Big Ten are saying they're going to take their ball and they're going to go and they're going to do it all themselves. Do you like the idea of expanding the college football playoff? Do you like the current format, and see there's no need for change? Where do you stand on that issue?
Well, one, I kind of figured it would come to a 2-conference system at some point anyway, between the SEC and the Big Ten. I did feel like it was heading in that direction. All signs have kind of led to that. But although the 12-team playoff was fun and it was exciting and gave us a lot to talk about, I do feel like there's a lot of games that were just kind of lopsided. There was a lot of games where, I turned it on for 1 quarter and said, enough's enough. You know what I mean? And so, I think if you start expanding, you're going to see more of those games and less of the competitive games. And so, we don't need to see Penn State SMU again. That's just that. I won't turn it on. You know what I mean? So I think if you expand it, you'll start to see more of that. I think stick with the 12 for now. Give it another year, see how things go, and then if it does not work out, then we have to adjust.
Yeah, I think one thing we're definitely going to see, CJ, before we have this big turnover with 14 or 16 teams and all the other things that they want to incorporate, I think that in this playoff in 25, they're going to seed these teams. They already realized they made a mistake with who got the buys, who was playing first, some of these lopsided games. I mean, I would have rather have seen Arizona State and SMU play in the first round instead of them playing, Ohio State or somebody, Penn State in the second round. So I think you're going to see some shuffling, some reseeding this year that I think will make these games a little more interesting. And also, I think they need to compress the schedule a little bit. I use the phrase playoff fatigue because to me, I was waiting too long between the next round or the next games. And I know they're juggling with the NFL, but they got to find a way to schedule this a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I agree. What it seems like you're saying is almost like a play-in game for the playoff for those kind of lower seeds, those teams that don't have as tough of a schedule, that haven't played the same competitive teams that others have played. Have a play-in game, and if things go right for you, you get to move on to the next one. Get moved on to the big dog. So I'm cool with that as well.
If all of a sudden we found out you wake up and all of a sudden, boom, in an alternate reality, you are the commissioner of the ACC, CJ, you're bound to not like that, right? With the SEC and the Big Ten dictating things in spots and number of automatic qualifiers. What about the perspective from somebody from the ACC or the Big Ten? Can you kind of get why they're not exactly rallying to this particular proposal?
Well, I think people are starting to lose. I mean, they started to lose confidence in the ACC when Florida State, sued the conference and they wanted to get out and things like that. I think there's just a lack of confidence in what the product that they're putting on the field now. And I think right now they're doing whatever they can, to stop it from becoming a two-team conference and a two-team college football system right now, and that's what you're seeing.
CJ, we've talked about this several times this morning. It came up again about recruiting. And certainly Nick Saban was a fabulous recruiter, was able to stockpile talent year after year. Auburn's recruiting had suffered at the latter part of Gus Malzahn and the entire tenure of Brian Harsin. Auburn realized that, hired a guy that was experienced in the SEC, knew what Auburn wanted, Hugh Freeze, and the recruiting is certainly on the uptick. But the big discussion lately has been about in-state players versus out-of-state players. And Alabama's done very well with out-of-state players. The majority of their class last year that was ranked number 2 was from out-of-state. DeBoer hadn't really got the in-state guys as interested as maybe some fans wish that he would. I've always been of the feeling that, hey, I want the best class. I don't care where they're from. I'm not sure kids today maybe grow up like they did when I was growing up. Oh, I got to play for Auburn or Alabama. I mean, you played high school ball in Montgomery. Do you think you would have played harder or better if you were playing at Auburn or Alabama compared to Vanderbilt?
Well, I would like to think I have a little bit of self-motivation and that I gave it all I had, but I do agree that there is a sense of pride, playing for the team that you grew up loving, that your family grew up loving, whether it's your parents, your grandparents, whatever it may be. This is a generational love, and technically you're going to have a little bit more to it when you're playing for a team like that. But I will say I think that is very true that even when I was coming through, it was hard to get Auburn on the phone. It was, and in that during that time, not to give myself too much credit, but there wasn't a whole lot of folks better than me in the central to South Alabama area.
Agreed.
I agree with that.
I
will second that.
Yes. And so, for them not to pick up the phone a lot of times, it wasn't until my senior year and I'd already fallen in love with Nashville, Tennessee. So by the time Auburn called, so I do think there's a real problem with guys like myself that grew up loving Auburn and mom went to Auburn and I've known that campus like the back of my hand since I was 10 years old and, couldn't get anybody on the phone. So I do think that's a problem with Auburn. And I think if you do get guys that are from Alabama, you start to build that team and that culture. Right now, I think they're missing a little bit of culture. And if you get some in-state guys that have pride about Auburn and care about the university itself and what kind of brand they're putting out there, then you may see some wins come.
See, I think that's valid. I haven't thought of it in that perspective as well. That's become a real buzzword, CJ, is culture. And you've talked before about when we've asked you about winter workouts and off-season conditioning and all of that stuff that nobody ever takes a look at. You said one of the real values, besides obviously, physical conditioning, is building that culture. Is that a buzzword, or is that a real thing that helps to lead to wins and losses and success?
I think it's a real thing, and who your strength coach is a real thing, because they help set that culture. They help set that standard. For the majority of the year, that's your coach. You don't see your head coach, you don't see your position coach for a long time. They're out recruiting or doing other things. And I know back in the day there was rules against being on the field with a football with a certain coach. You couldn't do that, right? That's why the quarterbacks usually organize 7-on-7s. The strength and conditioning coaches organize this or organize that. But that's the guy that's going to really create that toughness in your team and create that camaraderie in the locker room, is that strength and conditioning coach. And all that's done in the off season. If you're trying to figure that out during the season, you can go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, I hear you. That sounds like a guy that hits 5 buckets of balls on the range and think he's going to get it figured out before he has to hit the first 10. You better have that done many weeks and months before you do that. I get it, CJ. Yeah, it is. I just think it's kind of to me, with the NIL, CJ, and it seems like guys are looking out for themselves more now than they ever were. I'm sure that was the case, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe when you were coming through with some of the guys that you came through. But now with NIL, I just don't get the sense, CJ, that there's that loyalty to a particular program. Heck, the transfer portal will tell you that, I love this school. I want to go here. I grew up playing here, and I'm going to spend the next 4 years of my life here, come hell or high water. I think we're missing that aspect in college athletics today. I'm just not so sure the loyalty part is there like it used to be.
I'm with you with that, and I'm honestly shocked. I'm shocked that these guys trust the guy next to them. And I think that played a huge role for me. This is a dangerous sport. It's a very physical sport. I tell people all the time, you get in a car wreck every Saturday. That's what it is. You're using violence and you're being taught violence in order to accomplish a goal. And so, with these guys who are not sure if they love the school or not sure if they want to be at the school, and they're supposed to be blocking for me, or, say a quarterback throws a pick and I got to go put my body on the line to stop a pick six. And I don't know if this guy really likes me or he loves this university. I don't know. Why would you put your body on the line for a guy that you can't trust? And so to me, trust and loyalty and all those things matter when it comes to having a really good ball club and a consistent ball club that wins a lot of games. And so when you don't have that, to me, it's shocking to see teams, win any games, really.
That's very interesting.
As
you describe that, CJ, I never thought they were the most talented team this year, but I was very impressed with Notre Dame. And to me, that looked like a team that had a bunch of players that trusted each other.
Trusted each other, loved each other, been through it with each other. We all want a foxhole guy. That's what it is. At the end of the day, you want that. And they've been around each other for a while. And guess what? Their coach is a foxhole guy. He looks like he'll suit up if he has to, if they let him. You know what I mean? And so that's why they made it as far. And we've talked before about, is the money always going to outplay, I guess, these guys who don't have the money but have been together for a while? I think chemistry will reign at some point, but I just think it's the first year of kind of the money thing. But you'll start to see more teams that have kept guys for a longer period of time, that have that chemistry, that have that loyalty, trust with each other, that are going to end up reigning supreme over the other teams.
This is This is really good stuff. CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News. Before we close, this just came in. I was just about to close it out, but John Dent enters into our chat, and he says, CJ, did you ever have any aspirations to coach on the college level?
No, not the college level. I do a little bit of coaching now. I do. So, of course, I have a 9 to 5. I do government affairs work with Spire, the gas company. Also work with you guys over at Yellowhammer. But also, when the time permits, I do coach at Homewood Middle School. It's my neighborhood school, and I love being with those kids and trying to inspire them and teach them as much as I can. I feel like I got a little bit left in me. So it's been a pleasure to do that. But until I've made enough money and I've done all I needed to do in this government fair space, one day I hope to be an offensive coordinator or something somewhere at a high school. So that'd be great.
Oh, wow. Oh, man, that's exciting. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Well, I know we don't want you to keep you from your real job, I guess we should say. Man, we appreciate you taking time out each and every week to join us. And, man, we look forward to doing it again. Man, great conversation today, CJ, as always. Thank you.
No, it's truly a pleasure. I look forward to it every week, guys. So I can't wait to see y'all guys next week and have that conversation.
Appreciate you very much. CJ Duncan is with Yellowhammer News, and gosh, so impressive. Brings up stuff from a player's perspective that we never see. And he talked about Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame head coach. There's going to be a coach's clinic down at Troy end of the month. Jared Parker, Neil Brown's going to talk. And Marcus Freeman is going to be at that coach's clinic down in Troy as well. Of course, he Marcus was the coach when Jared Parker was the offensive coordinator last year, and coached with him a couple of years. So I'm trying. I'm going to see if we can get a moment or two with him here on Longshore and McKnight. But yeah, he talks about culture, and boy, it's invaluable for Notre Dame, which was a very old team. Same thing with Ohio State, a bunch of old guys. A little bit later on,
kind of sounds like Auburn's basketball team.
Yeah, as I was about to bring up, Auburn right now, men's basketball, according to BetMGM, are the favorites to win the national championship. I don't know what this means, but they say at MGM it's plus 325, and 325 is a big number. So they are.
Where you put up $100, you put up $100, and if Auburn wins it, you're going to win 325. Thing is the further they go through the tournament, that 325 number is going to get smaller and smaller. And as they get to the Final Four, you might be having to lay up, $150 to win 100.
Well,
so you better get on it now, because the more they win, there again, that number is going to get closer to zero and sense. Past it after that. So, if you think Auburn's going to win it, I'd be jumping on that where you can legally do it.
To illustrate John's point, did you know Auburn's men's basketball team's very good, but they are very old, John. Did you know that the leaders in the NBA's Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder, no, I'm not asking you if you knew that, but did you know that the average age of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who is leading the Western Conference, is 24.1 years of age, okay? That's the average age of the NBA's best team in the West, 24.1 years of age. The average age of Auburn's starting five, 23.2 years of age, less than a year younger collectively than the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chad Baker Mazzara is 25. Denver Jones is 24. Dylan Cardwell is 23. Janai Broom is 22. He's a super. They're all super seniors.
Yeah. Barry, I wish that term would.
Miles Kelly is 22. Goodness.
Super senior would have been relevant, though. I don't know, 87. Around in there, because there again, look, you're not going to get any comments from me about people that might be a little old still in college.
No, me either.
No problem there. 25 still
John,
in college? Sure, why not?
The problem with John was that nowadays, you've got seniors, you've got sixth-year seniors who are called super seniors. The problem with John is that there was never such a thing as like super sophomore.
Yeah.
John, mom and dad are looking at that bill and they're saying, John, when are you ever going to graduate? Mom, I'm a super sophomore.
Yeah.
I'm a super junior. No. You
get
to your senior year.
Been available back then. Man.
Yeah. We're talking about, culture and all that kind of stuff. And you're seeing that all the time. There are guys right now. I think there was a guy at Miami last year who was in his 8th year. There's a guy who's going to be playing this year, I think, at Minnesota, who's in his 8th year in football. That's another thing that I don't think people talk about as much, with the advent of the, of course, the COVID year and the extra year. And there's players who played in junior college that are going to get an extra year and stuff. There's 25-year-old guys all over the place in college.
Absolutely love it.
And one of the reasons why they're 25 and still in college is because they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in college making $200,000 a year than being in the NBA G League a year early at $75,000.
You're getting me excited here talking about the college years. Going to be in Tuscaloosa this weekend. It's Parents Weekend. Woo, man! Parents Weekend at the Capstone. Oh, I might be a little groggy Monday. Just going to go ahead and let you know right now.
Still got a lot more of those in your future. Coming up on the top of the hour, we'll talk with Kyle George from Troy Athletics in just a moment. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Okay, joining us now, Brian Reynolds. He is the director of golf at Cambrian Ridge in Greenville on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. And hey, Brian, I know we've had a lot of rain. Weather hadn't been very cooperative, but that still doesn't mean that our listeners and our viewers can come see you to pick up those trail cards and also all of the new merchandise and equipment that's arriving in your pro shop.
That's right, guys. We've got the new TaylorMade Q35. We've got the new TaylorMade Elite, named after the old founder of Callaway, Ely Callaway. We got the TaylorMade, we got the Ping, the Perils rolling in left and right, whether it's Peter Millar, Vineyard Vines, Straight Down, Southern Tide. We've got it all coming in right now. Puma, shop's getting full, running out of room, so we need folks to come buy some stuff. It's getting thick in there.
I love it, Brian. Man, you are just packed in with new merchandise and apparel for the upcoming golf season. And speaking of that upcoming golf season, that trail card will pay for itself in no time. Folks need to go ahead and get that 2025 trail card.
That's right. It pays for itself the first time you use it. It takes your golf, whether you're playing, in Greenville or at Prattville, somewhere around the $46 to $56 price range. If you walk in here without one in our prime season in the spring, we're going to hit you for $125. So, you buy the $50 trail card, pay your $56 for golf. It's still cheaper than walking the door and not having one. So if you're an Alabama resident or live within 2 hours of any trail facility, make sure you get that card, stash it away in your wallet, take a picture of it on your phone so we can give you that discount. And hey, the caveat on top of it is you gain points every time you spend $1 with that trail card, whether it's food and beverage, golf, merchandise. You gain points, and for every 500 points, you get a free round of golf. So, if you're looking to buy a driver, irons, rangefinder, shoes, buy it with us. You get points, and you're going to get a free round of golf. If you buy a driver, you get a free round of golf right then, $500.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. That is fantastic. So, for more information, go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge. Or better yet, just go by and see them there in Greenville. What's your phone number for more information and to book that tee time when this weather gets a little better?
Just give us a call at 382-9787. I'm sorry, 382-9787, and we'll get you taken care of.
Awesome. Brian, thank you so much, my friend. A lot of exciting things going on down there at Cambrian Ridge. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All righty, back at it here on a Wednesday. Kyle George, Troy, going to join us here in about 5 minutes or so. Range Pro on our chat line, Barry. I think he's fallen into a trap. I think it's a trap game.
Yeah, he says the RP game of the week. Bama tonight at a pick'em versus Mizzou.
Well, Range Pro,
Bama bounces back like they did after that home loss to Ole Miss.
I'm looking at ESPN bets right now, and Missouri is a 1.5-point favorite in that game tonight. Alabama an underdog. Could that be the Phantoms' daily dog later? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Auburn is a 15.5-point favorite at home tonight, hosting Arkansas. But Barry, I think to me, they're begging you to take Alabama. Coming off a loss, in-state rival, big 1-2 battle. I'm glad I've got about 20, 25 more minutes to think about the Phantoms' daily dog. The Range Pro, right off, my initial reaction, they are begging you to take Alabama tonight. You know what happens when they're begging you? I don't know. Could this be the start of the bottom falling out for Alabama? They lose Saturday. They're playing ranked teams the rest of the way out. I don't know.
What you could also visualize is, okay, Alabama got a cold splash of water to the face on Saturday in Auburn, and they have crystallized in their minds what their difficulties are, what their shortcomings are, and they have bound and determined to unite as one, and that could be the catalyst of something big. Now that, Auburn has exposed a couple of their weaknesses, they work on them, and they're basically unbeatable through the rest of a very tough stretch to end the Southeastern Conference.
So you're telling us that Nate Oates has had some pretty good practices leading up to their trip to Columbia.
I'm just
yesterday.
Right now.
Yeah. So what do you do tonight, man? This is a tough deal tonight. Do you watch the Tides That Bind on Fox Nation, or do you watch basketball?
See, we get into this philosophical discussion all the time because John is of the opinion, for instance, in his radio consumption, he would rather not listen to an actual game as opposed to he would much rather listen to talking heads on a radio talk show talk about the game. I wonder if that's the same thing on television. Do you actually want to watch two teams of high caliber and ability compete against each other at the highest level of college athletics?
Yeah.
Or would you rather watch a pre-produced, pre-screened, edited version of real life involving behind the scenes of the Alabama football program?
I'm going to have to think about that this morning. I think I know what I'm going to do, but I don't want to reveal it just yet. But for the record, as you well know, I might not listen to a radio broadcast from opening tip, opening kick to the final whistle, but there are points in the game where I'll make damn sure I'm listening to it on the radio.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't know that John would ever actually watch a college football event from beginning to end. Watch it. Like sit in front of it. Only break is a bathroom break. It's not, during the commercial breaks, let me check out this other game and check it back. No, it's like watch that game beginning to end. I don't know that he could sit still for that long for anything.
Does it count if you're watching the national championship game? It's the only game on, but you go check out the mega cast or the above ground cast. You go to one of the different broadcasts of it, but it's basically the same game.
This is why the wife gives you this big and walks out of the room and doesn't say anything because she's going back to the bedroom where she can watch that game in peace. I can't imagine John's AA battery bill in that remote, because that thing has got to be worn out on a weekly basis.
Quickly before we get to Kyle George, Barry, I've got to hide the batteries because the kiddos are, need them for all their kind of deals and contraptions and whatnot. So I had to hide them. So when I did get into a pinch and my remote wasn't working, I wouldn't panic because I couldn't change the channel. So I hide my batteries from everybody because I got to make sure I got those batteries.
Chances are at least 70%, and maybe 75%, that your kids know where you hide them. They just say, hey, let's go use those batteries, but remember to put them back in the cookie jar because Dad thinks we don't know where they are.
They're gone to school, so I can tell you.
All right.
Put them in the liquor cabinet because I got a lock, and I can lock the liquor cabinet, so they can't get in it.
Yeah. There haven't been movies or anything, but specifically during the 1980s, I can't remember a single movie where the premise was that the mom and dad were out of town on a vacation and left the kids at home alone, and they used to the liquor cabinet. I don't remember any screenplays like that ever in the cinematic universe.
I think I got them hidden pretty good. There's been no evidence that they found the keys yet. But I'll put other stuff besides liquor in the liquor cabinet. Stuff I don't want, that I want to make sure when I want it, it's there.
Yeah.
That's where I put it. Because I don't want any discussion like, well, which one of them got it and didn't ask me. I mean, I've been known to put a necktie in there because they love to borrow my ties. And there's a couple in particular that I want to make sure that I always have available. So I put a couple of ties in the liquor cabinet too.
It's usually that purple one that has the acorns on it, or, that big loud tie that he wears during the holidays that actually has those little Christmas lights on his tie that light up. And
Barry, I've got to make sure I've got that tie to go with my seersucker suit during Easter.
Nice. Not everything goes with a seersucker suit. You're right about that. Kyle George is the Executive Associate Athletics Director for External Relations at Troy University. Already in at work early today. Kyle, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. To add to y'all's conversation, I will say I was listening to the broadcast from Barry McKnight all night last night there. So he kept me informed on the baseball game as I was handling my own kids last night.
Yeah, golly, awesome. I hated that Auburn was able to get a late hit and win that game. That was such a hotly contested ball game.
Certainly was. Two top teams, and I think you're going to see both those teams in regionals this year. Just really great baseball right out of the gate this season.
Well, how and you're in charge again, external relations, presenting and promoting the product that Troy puts out on the competitive field, and presenting it not only to the fans and the ticket buyers and everything, but presenting it in the best face to everybody associated. How much easier is your job, especially lately, when there's been all this winning going on with the basketball programs, huh?
Well, it certainly helps. There's nothing that helps you better than winning some ball games there. And, as we got into the start of basketball season, that was one of the things I told our staff from the jump is that we got 4 teams coming up here that got a chance to win championships in men's, women's basketball, baseball, and softball. All 4 of those teams really playing at high levels. Baseball and softball early in their seasons right now, but as basketball's coming down the stretch, men's and women's basketball both have been in the hunt, and these are some huge games for us for men's basketball as we're in first place in the league in a 4-way tie right now.
How much does it help Troy's brand, if you can even offer a perspective, that they won that game Saturday night at Arkansas State, the first place team? They had the largest crowd they've had there in like 17 years in Jonesboro, and the compelling manner in which Troy won it on a national outlet like ESPN2.
Oh, it's absolutely huge. When you look at postseason implications, you got a lot of eyeballs on that game in particular. And if that's the one game that somebody sees about Troy basketball this season that maybe is not a Troy basketball fan, they're going to say, man, that's a tough team. You got Jackson Fields stepping out, knocking down threes, having the game of his life out there. But just a well-balanced defensive effort as well as offensive effort in that game there. And like you said, too, that was a tough environment. I was not personally there. I was at Baumhauer's with our watch party, and I tell you, that place was raucous and into the game as well, too. And that makes it a lot of fun, get a chance to cheer on some fun basketball. But from everything we heard from you and others that were in person, that was a tough place to go into and walk out with a victory as it should. I mean, that's a great basketball matchup there, and glad we came out on top. And now we got to hold serve at home this week.
Kyle, I sent Barry a photo. I was in the nation's capital over the weekend. I'd watched the Auburn-Alabama game during the afternoon. Went and had some dinner, and the game was they had games on, and the Troy game was one of them. And I walked up to the bartender, say, make sure you keep this game on. I want to check it out while I'm here. So, yeah, sure, no problem. And as the game went on and got closer and tighter and it was more exciting, a lot of people were gravitating toward it and watching it. And I took a picture and sent it to Barry right at the final whistle, letting him know they were getting a lot of love in the nation's capital from a big group of folks checking out Troy basketball.
Oh, absolutely. And all of that matters. That's all these things that, whether it be when we win football championships or get a chance to be in the spotlight for basketball or baseball, all that helps to grow our brand even further. And people start asking, hey, where's Troy? If they're not from this area, they get a chance to learn more about us. And it's one of those things. We know we got a hidden jewel here at times. We just got to keep unhiding that and show it to the rest of the nation as well.
You mentioned holding serve at home. I thought it was really kind of cool. Tomorrow night, only 2 more home games left in the regular season for the first place Troy men's basketball season. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock against Louisiana at Trojan Arena. I thought it was interesting that a lot of the promotional angle for this one from your office is towards the kids tomorrow night, Kyle.
Well, as a father with 2 young kids, I know anywhere my kids are going, I'm going too. So that's the way to get the parents there for it. And we want this to be a fun, engaging atmosphere. We got a lot of things for our students as well too.
Yeah.
But from the young students, from the young kids that is there, Short the Squirrel, he's the reading mascot for the state of Alabama, connected here to the College of Education as well too. It's National Clean Out Your Bookcase Day on Thursday. So Short's going to clean out his bookcase. All kids get a free book coming into the ball game Thursday evening, plus kids get in free as well too there. So trying to make sure it's a fun atmosphere for bringing the whole family out too. Great matchup for us as well too, because we need to win these 2 games here to stay in contention for first place. And then on Saturday, come hungry because we got Trojan Mardi Gras. It's free food samples with 17 different sponsors of ours between king cake, ice cream, Baumhauer's, you name it. We got all the food samples on Saturday as part of Trojan Mardi Gras taking place for us as well.
Yeah, Troy Power Tee Mardi Gras beads for the first 2,500 fans for the Saturday game at 3:33 against Coastal Carolina. And also season ticket holder appreciation day and all of that. Gosh, this men's basketball team, down the stretch, 4 regular season games left to play, in first place right now. These 2 games are critical, Kyle.
They certainly are, because when you look at the standings right now, tomorrow night, Arkansas State plays South Alabama. That's essentially an elimination game if you look at that part, because they're 2 of the teams tied for first with us and James Madison. And as you look down the stretch, you got to win out. That's basically the biggest piece there for it. If you win out, you get a chance to win a championship. So 4 games left on the schedule. Go 1-0 every single game. But for us, what we've been talking about with our staff here is, and Coach Cross brought this up the other night as well too, those 1-possession ball games, the crowd can make a huge impact on that. We've had 3 games that we lost by 1 possession this year. And so when you look at that part, try to hold serve and make sure that the crowd can get there and give you that impact, because you make a guy miss a free throw, you make a guy throw a bad pass, you can impact the game there for it. So that's why we're excited to have a chance to have 2 home games this week and then give our guys a shot to go out on the road and hopefully bring home a championship next week.
Kyle, is it too early to or to even talk about maybe some of the things that will be happening this fall with Troy football? Do you have any indication from your TV partners about maybe what night some games will be on, or maybe anything special with the football season?
Well, we know our opponents. We just don't know all the dates quite yet, but we're looking at, looks like March 1, we should have that date. So coming up here next week, should have the remainder of our football calendar here for us.
Okay.
There's some big games for sure, though. We're hosting Memphis here at Troy University, week 3 of the season, right after we go on the road to Clemson. So some big matchups early in the season for us from a football standpoint. We know that South Alabama comes back to us. Georgia State comes to us this year. So you've got some great opponents on the schedule that will be visiting Veterans Memorial Stadium. Don't know the exact dates quite yet, but there's a lot of excitement around our football team. When you look at the roster management, everybody's roster is different in college football this day and age. We lost 3 starters, and you always want to hang on to them. But that's one of the lowest numbers in terms of losses from a roster in the entire group of 5. When you look at the guys for us that departed there, the talent that we brought in, extremely, extremely talented. A lot of P4 talent coming in from Georgia, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Auburn, really beefed up on the offensive line as well too there. So some of the key areas that we needed to focus on, I think Coach Parker and his staff did that. And probably the biggest addition for us, our starting quarterback will be healthy. He missed 8 games last year, so that's a huge addition for you when you look at how our team will come into the 25 football season.
Can people renew their season tickets now?
Absolutely. Renewals are open, as well as new season tickets as well too. You can go to TroyTrojans.com/tickets. Season ticket prices are the exact same as they were last year. No price raises therefore. It's one of the things we're being cognizant of, as you see a lot of things rising across the country. We're trying to make sure that still works for our fan base here as well too. But season tickets are on sale right now. You can also still buy baseball season tickets. We're at an all-time high there right now, but season tickets are still available for that. Great home schedule includes Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, as well as a big home game against Alabama late in the season. So from a baseball side of things, a lot of excitement there as well too.
Kyle, what about Trojan Tour? Those dates been set?
We're getting close, therefore, working through those schedules there for it, looking to get things cranked up in April and May for us to get a chance to go out on the road and see our fan base there. You know, we're going to be coming to Montgomery. I got to see our friend Jane Cameron up there in Montgomery all the time there as well, too. But we'll be getting those items here finalized pretty soon to have Coach Parker and other members of our football and other sporting staffs able to come join us out there on the road this year as well.
Kyle is good enough to pinch hit. We were scheduled to have Brent Jones on. He's got some family considerations this morning. Kyle is in. We know you'll defer a lot of these issues to Brent, but I will say this: at our all-staff meeting a week and a half ago, Brent presented a scenario to all the staff members. You guys, with all of the questions coming up regarding the House settlement and, you know, when it would be voted on and when it would go to effect and what happens if it doesn't go into effect, you guys as a staff have really been working on contingency plans regardless of how things shake out in college athletics over the spring and summer, correct?
Correct. And I think what you've seen too across the country, there's been a lot of schools trying to rush to the finish line and be the first ones to say, look at what we're planning to do. We're taking the opposite approach. We're taking our time before we get to that finish line because so much has changed from when it initially started to where it is now. And so we've already seen some other of our peers that have cut budgets. They've released staff members and things. Our plan is to keep everything status quo going into this first year of revenue share. Still providing revenue share to our student athletes there, but making sure that we have the resources for all of our teams to still compete because we feel that staying the same is actually an advantage across the board right now. As so many places are looking to change things up for their programs, we want to make sure that all of our teams still have what they've worked with for the past few years, give them that 1 year runway, if you will, and let us really see how things fully develop there for it. We've got plans ready to push when things come finalized. If that is finished up in April and has an August 1 start time there for it, we're ready for those items there. And look, the only way we're going to be successful is by having everybody pull in the same direction together. That's how you see all these things, whether it be our coaches, our student athletes, our alumni base. We're going to need all of Trojan Nation in it together. But I think that those plans are going to work very well for us to not only maintain, but to grow and develop even further.
You know, I'm just really interested in if this plan does move forward. You know, Barry mentioned their meetings today in New Orleans with the SEC and the Big Ten, who that want to kind of move on and with a new plan involving their schools and maybe a few others. And if that does play out, Kyle, I'm just trying to think of how that's going to affect everybody else, particularly the group of five. I mean, whether it's the Sun Belt or the MAC or the Mountain West, that it's going to be a new day and age.
Certainly will. And you know, the thing that I equate it to is we've been through this to some degree when we had COVID-19. You had to really adapt on the fly, change your policies, had to work through a new normal there for it. And a lot of those things have never gone away. And so I think that's prepared us in a way of we had a revolutionary year plus of working through college athletics and being able to play those games and ensure your student athletes had what they needed to succeed. That's going to be the same kind of thing for us here now. Obviously a very different challenge than COVID-19 was, but still it allows you to look outside the box and we have to grow and develop. If we stay static with what we've been in the past, we're not going to grow and move forward. I think you're seeing the winds of change are certainly taking place in college athletics. It doesn't mean it's necessarily all bad. I can't say that we all necessarily are thrilled about it. We have to make sure we accept what we have and move forward and find a way to compete, because even if the rules change, we're still going to have a chance to have a scoreboard at the end that says if you win or lost, and we got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, you're right. Before we let you go, some stuff from some of our listeners and viewers right now. Number one, our buddy JD says Trojan Mardi Gras sounds bussin'. Yeah, that is a lot of fun. It's not great for my waistline, but it is a lot of fun, and that's coming up Saturday, correct?
Correct. Coming up on Saturday, 3:33 tip-off for men's basketball against Coastal Carolina. Baseball plays that day at noon against Northwestern State. Show your baseball ticket stub at the Trojan Arena box office. You get a free ticket to the game for basketball. So free ticket, free food, man, you can't beat that.
Somebody was asking about Thursday night. You mentioned there are youth tickets available. How do they score those?
Go online to troytrojans.com/promo. Enter promo code YOUTH, YOUTH. That will unlock a buy one, get one. So those are $3 for the GA ticket. Kid gets in free. You're talking about $1.50 per ticket, that breakdown there for it. So great opportunity. And the kids get a free book as well.
And one other question, and you can look behind John and see the sponsor behind him. I got one over here behind me too. Friday night concession specials are going to be going on through the baseball season. A lot of them involving our sponsor, Kyle.
That would be correct. Our friends at Bud Light certainly stepped up and helped us out. So every single Friday at Riddle Pace Field, so this upcoming Friday, 4 o'clock, first pitch against Northwestern State, as well as through the entire season, we have $2 draft beers for Bud Light and Michelob Ultra. Throw in a $3 hot dog. You can't beat that part there. So $2 beer, $3 hot dogs, $5 gets you a meal that you're going to enjoy, and plus you can go back for seconds throughout the game as well.
Heck yeah, man. I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. We're all about value and get a chance to bring families out to enjoy a ball game there. So kid tickets free. Parents can grab a good beer at a good price there for it as well, too. Cheaper than you can get it anywhere else right now.
There you go. Absolutely. Kyle, if anybody missed any of this, of course, we'll replay it throughout the day on our show. But they can always go to the website to find out all about it, TroyTrojans.com, right?
Absolutely. TroyTrojans.com. Find all the information for all of our sports, including softball, who hosts Georgia Tech today at 4 o'clock. So a lot of events taking place on campus. Basically, if you drive on the campus, you'll probably see an event taking place this week and next. So come and join us, and we'd love to see you guys out here.
Appreciate you very much, Kyle.
Thank you,
for
buddy.
the time.
Thanks so much. Go Trojans.
Yep. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah.
Great interview, great information. You know, it's interesting, Bear. I asked him about the Trojan Tour. Certainly was expecting to get the answer that I got. I would be surprised if I didn't. But I am hearing programs cutting those down where they're not making these tours and whatnot. I understand that Tennessee used to, man, they would go to Atlanta.
Oh, my gosh. Tennessee had the Vol Caravan. That thing was, at the time, it was maybe the biggest one of its kind. John, I mean, if you had if you had two stoplights in your town in Tennessee, they were going to stop there at that time.
And they were going elsewhere, Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas. They were taking that caravan to other parts of the country as well. This year, they're only making 3 stops, and that's it. I think it's Nashville, Memphis, and City area, something like that, I heard. And that's kind of coming everywhere. I mean, these caravan deals and going out and seeing the fans getting smaller and smaller, kind of limiting the number of stops that they go to. I don't know if the coaches just don't want to do it. I don't know if they find it, it's just not beneficial anymore. Same people are showing up. I don't know. But I found it interesting that that's kind of losing its luster from its heyday when it kind of started, maybe 10, 15 years ago.
When's the last time you've been to the Ed Teague Arena?
Whew. Man.
Because that's where John would always point out that they had the big, what John would call the Aubapalooza, the big, Montgomery Auburn Club meeting. John would always say it was at the, it wasn't the Al-Shazar Temple. It was the Ed Teague Arena.
It was the Ed Teague Arena. They actually had it out there. In its early years, and we would always have some representatives from the Montgomery Auburn Club come on the show and promote it. They'd always invite me. Hey, John, you're more than welcome to come. I just never could fit it into my schedule. Now, I did very.
That's because you would schedule things afterwards. I got to have some. I can tell.
Now, I did. There is photo evidence of me being at Tiger Trek. That was a big deal. when they took that bus
true.
that they got wrapped up in all the Auburn stuff.
Yeah, it was not like a short bus, although John said that would have. Well, it was like one of those big Montgomery area transit buses, but nicer, and it had the wrap around it. I mean, with the Auburn going up the side, and I think they had a picture of I don't know, James Bostic's touchdown run in '93 on the side and everything. I didn't go. And I got a picture of John getting the chest bump from Trooper Taylor.
That's a fact.
I could not believe it. It was like when John and Junior got their picture taken in front of Tubbs' big oil painting of that Auburn panorama in Senator Tuberville's office in Washington, D.C. John with, in the background, meticulously painted oil painting of Bo Over the Top and
Cam.
And Frank Sanders in the back of the end zone and all this. And I'm thinking, I have lived to see this.
I did ask Tubbs when we got that picture taken. I took a closer look of it. You're right. All of those great Auburn players were a part of that painting. And I looked at the center. I said, Coach, I don't see any money coming out of Cam's pants there. So this isn't realistic. He didn't think that was very funny.
No. But he has, but he has run into Tuberville again, and Tuberville actually shook his hand. So there was no hard feelings about that little
Monday night at the airport. But anyway, that was with the late great Trent Mitchell, our former producer on the radio side when we were back doing that. And Trent took me down there. But Barry, it was one year during Tiger Trek. It was like the first day of it, and they went around in limos.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking,
the coaches went around, and they just stopped at these schools. They had, those big stretch Hummer limos.
No, not the first day. It was the limos you see in a funeral procession, and I'm dogging them. I'm thinking, what in the world is this?
Oh,
I
don't remember the limousines, but I remember you dogging them.
The next day, they are in Hummer limousines. It's amazing.
That's right.
I'm giving them some grief about these old Lincoln Town cars or Fleetwood Cadillacs.
They still have got the racks in the back for the casket in the back of that thing.
And I'm thinking, y'all got to go Hummer limos. The next day they had them. So
not only did the next day. Now it's all. You're exactly right, because remember, John, we actually, I want to say it was Curtis Looper, former Auburn assistant coach. We had Curtis Looper on the phone with us from the back of one of those limousines.
Correct.
Live. And John, this is in the morning, obviously. He was living large, man. Golly,
I do remember that. They don't do stuff like that anymore. They just don't,
That's a shame. You don't see. We were talking about one year Alabama had the Crimson Caravan or whatever. It was 3 places. And one of them was Dallas, and one of them might have been like New York City or something like that.
They did go to New York.
I remember back in the day, you read stories about Bear going to a garden club meeting in Irondale or something like that. Now, Dallas and New York City. Jason points this out, and Jason, he's so great. Jason says, rather than the caravan, the coaches are staying home to recruit their current players, which is a thing now, which also didn't used to have to be a thing, but that is a thing now, to make sure your current players are happy rather than make sure the alums are happy. So
that's exactly right. They were taking the caravan nationwide, kind of like they're recruiting, but I don't want to get on that tangent again. All right, let's take a break, Barry. I think people are chomping at the bit to find out what the Phantom's daily dog is today.
Yes.
Got a couple of games I've been looking at, but I got to zero in on one of them. We'll release it when we get back.
When you see John coming out of the break flipping a coin, that's when you know how close it was. The Daily Dog is next from the Phantom in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, joining us today is Mary Ann from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. And It looks like Marianne's in the repair shop there at Marguerite's, which is very important because Marianne, from time to time, a bracelet or a necklace or something, might break or something might happen, and you have a full-service repair shop there at Marguerite's.
We do, definitely, yeah. Don't worry, I'm not going to be the one to repair your jewelry, but I am in the shop today. So I've got all the tools around, and we really do. When they say we make it, we really make it. We do at Marguerite's. We have 3 in-house jewelers, which is amazing. Custom engraving machine, laser engraving, hand tools, you name it, 3D printer. And I hear that your wife may be in need of us pretty soon.
Yep. We were out of town, and she was taking off a sweater, and her necklace got caught, and it broke the chain. I said, honey, no sweat. When we get back home, I'm taking it straight to Marguerite's. They'll have it repaired in no time.
Definitely, yes. Sweaters, long sleeve shirts, or gosh, like a toddler, whoever. A chain sometimes gets pulled, and we can do it in-house. I've had so many people come in to Marguerite's and just say, I need a new chain. I broke mine. I'm just like, well, you can get a new chain, but we can actually repair it here. We've got torches and laser welders and so many different things to fix those chains. And so, yep, just bring it. We can fix it up in-house, which is great. It's not going anywhere. And we can also size those rings up. Or my mom broke a bracelet. I never took it off, and she had to have a little medical procedure, and it's like hanging on by a thread. So I carried it with me today to get it fixed. So you snag something, don't worry. We can get it knocked out and fixed at Marguerite's.
Open 7 days a week for your convenience there in Pepper Tree on Vaughn Road, 8163 Vaughn Road. Marianne, I'm telling you, I'm bringing that necklace as soon as I get back in town. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we have got a couple of things still on the agenda today.
Yep.
Curtis said Bama paid East Carolina to turn Auburn in on that limo caravan. They said that gave them an unfair advantage. John, I remember something about that. I mean, you can't have that anymore. You can't drive limos into high schools anymore and go en masse as a coaching staff into the high school. Number one, it's disruptive to the kids. But number two, you can't, bring expensive limos into places like that. You can't do that. Curtis said Bama didn't turn Auburn in, but they paid East Carolina to turn Auburn in on the limo caravan. I don't know that it's an NCAA violation. Maybe it is. I do know you can't do it anymore. I don't know it was an NCAA violation then. Does East Carolina, were they offering to kind of be the hatchet man for Alabama because they're still ticked that Auburn hired Pat Dye away? They didn't even hire him away from East Carolina. They hired him from Wyoming after 1 year.
Why would a school pay another school? To me, it seems like there'd be a paper trail.
Yeah.
There would have been some investigative journalist looking into that. I don't recall that.
If they had done that, then Phil Fulmer would have found out about it, and Phil Fulmer would have paid Memphis to meet with Roy Kramer in that hotel room in Chattanooga. He would have gotten Western Kentucky to do it instead of Tennessee being implicated as the as the Clarence Beeks of the whole thing.
That, Curtis. That is news to me. I've learned something new here today.
The caravan, the limo caravan thing, that was a silly thing anyway. Come on,
Yeah, I said it was cheesy back then, but of course people said, "Oh, it's great. It's innovative." Blah blah blah. Yeah, whatever. It was cheesy, particularly those old funeral home limos they went in on day one. They didn't plan that very well, but so. You can't take a caravan of coaches in a limo to a high school, but the head coach can land a helicopter on the practice field? That's not disruptive.
I imagine that is pretty disruptive. Famously, Saban did that on the practice field at Foley High School to visit with Julio Jones.
Yeah, I think Kirby Smart's still doing it.
I was about to say, I know Kirby's done it, and I'm pretty sure it's still going on. I'm sure it happened I think I heard it happened this last recruiting cycle for him.
Somebody out there that knows how to find stuff on the internet, whatever that term is called. Barry, I believe Kalen DeBoer has done that in the last months. I saw something about him in one of his coaches landing a helicopter on a practice field not too long ago.
Maybe he landed it on the softball field to watch.
Yeah, maybe he did, but I do recall a helicopter flight that Kalen DeBoer made.
Huh.
So we'll see.
Okay,
Barry. Yes. The Phantoms Daily Dog. Don't let halftime scores get you excited, because Texas A&M was leading Mississippi State last night at halftime in Starkville as they were playing a game in which they were catching 2.5 points. And, we just took a look-see to see what that looked like. It went, oh, wow, okay. It's better than being down. They were up, but I don't know if they left the locker room at halftime and came back to play the second half, because Mississippi State went on to win the game and to cover against Texas A&M last night, and that was a big loss for A&M.
It was.
If they wanted to have any chance in a conference title or maybe helping their seed in the tournament.
Yeah. 70-54 was the final score. Let's mark that down and talk about it later this week with Bart Heisch, because that was pretty doggone impressive. Texas A&M had been playing great. I think they had the longest current winning streak in the SEC at that point. They had won 4 in a row, and then that happens to them. So, look, if playing the number was easy, John, everybody would do it. And
you're right about that.
Yeah.
You are exactly right about. I think everybody is doing it, Barry. Unfortunately, the state of Alabama is not getting any revenue out of that, nor are they nor are some of these places regulated, and we got some stuff going on that shouldn't be, and we need to get that cleaned up. And I've got an idea of how that can happen. Yep. More on that later. Okay.
Yes. All right.
So, I'll tell you a couple of games that caught my eye, but I'm not going to. I'm only going to give you one. I am going, Barry. I'll tell you the game I'm not going with first.
All right, and tell us why not.
Yeah, I know Alabama as a 1.5 point underdog just looks too good to be true, and I agree.
Yeah.
It does. To me, they're begging you to take Missouri. Begging you to take Alabama, excuse me.
Yeah.
Alabama's getting the points. You're thinking, man, I'm all over it, going to take it. I think it's a trap. I'm steering away from it. I'm going with a team that has already beaten this team earlier in the year, albeit at home. Tonight, they're on the road. Can they beat this team again?
They can. If we're thinking about the same game. Yep. Vanderbilt.
The Commodores plus 5.5 at Kentucky tonight, 6 p.m. on the SEC Network. Barry, there again, I like a team, a dog I think can win the game outright. I like Vanderbilt. I think they can win the game outright.
I do too.
But it doesn't really matter because I'm catching 5.5. Just keep it within the number. That's all I'm asking. Vanderbilt's lost 2 in a row, Barry. They need a win tonight. Ole Miss, Texas A&M coming up after the game in Rupp tonight. So I like Vanderbilt catching 5.5 at Kentucky tonight.
So that's 6:00 tonight. You can do with it what you will. That's for entertainment purposes only. But you could have a kind of a smile on your face to take away from the pain you're going to feel when that Kentucky Vanderbilt game runs long, and the SEC Network will pick up Alabama at Missouri with about 6 or 7 minutes already gone by in the first half.
Now, Barry, if it's running long, then that means it's a close game. Usually that's the case. mean, blowouts, they'll just go ahead and say, well, we're going to go ahead and move ahead to our next game. So if it is running a little long, normally that indicates a tight game. Okay, that's fine. I don't want it to be more than 5.5. I don't care how tight it is.
Not asking much. Not
Yeah,
asking
so
much
that's
at all.
our phantom dog of the day, Vanderbilt plus 5.5 at Kentucky tonight. 6 o'clock SEC Network.
Really like that one. Of course, Alabama, Missouri at 8 on the SEC Network. Auburn at home against Arkansas at 8 on ESPN. I was in Auburn last night. Got to catch up with a lot of old friends. You know, it's now been a good long time since I worked and lived in Auburn. So many old friends out there, including guys, John, that for the first time in my life, I've heard them talking about Auburn basketball. I'm thinking, this is great. It's great to see you, but I didn't know you cared about basketball. Oh, yeah, you know, Chad Baker Mazzara, but John I. Broom. And I'm thinking, man, I remember back when I lived here and you and I knew each other for a long time. You wouldn't come to a basketball game at Beard Eves Coliseum to get out of the rain.
Not even considered.
Not everybody, but I'm telling you, it's basketball fever in Auburn right now.
Well, they should be. They should be excited. They should be excited about it, no doubt. Great game, a great team, and I certainly don't see any reason why you would not think this team can win the national championship. I mean, funny things happen in the NCAA tournament. I get it. We've seen officials not, blow whistles when they should, and people double dribbling and getting away with it. I mean, we've seen this type of stuff.
Phantom fouls on 3-point shots.
Yeah, that's right. So, stuff like that can happen. But there again, my eyes tell me, and they have been telling me for months now, this is the best team. I think Bama fans know that. They didn't want to believe that going into Saturday, but they know it now.
Yeah.
They happen to know it before the game on Saturday. And it's not like, I threw a dart on the wall and said, oh, let's go with Auburn today. I picked them earlier in the week, picked them Friday before the game on Saturday. They are the better team. And I think they proved that against Alabama for sure on Saturday. And that's what I think Bama fans got to be concerned with, Barry, because they lose at home to Auburn. They go to Missouri, pretty good road trip in this league, long way to go.
Yeah,
and
freezing cold, lots of snow. Yeah.
I mean, the remainder of their games, they don't have a cakewalk game left in the regular season. I mean, this could be Nate Oates' toughest and could be his best coaching job over the next 2 weeks just to get this team through the regular season, because the next 5-6 games are going to be tough, and it would not surprise me a bit. 500 the remainder of the regular season.
Now, I got to credit myself. I always try to credit, whenever, and so does John, when we're citing other people's work or anything like that. But I got to give myself credit on this, because I did some research yesterday. Actually, it was on the bus heading to Auburn. This upcoming 5-game stretch against ranked opposition, John, that is the longest stretch in Nate Oates' career at Alabama of ranked teams back to back to back to back to back. This upcoming stretch, and I'll include Auburn in that as well, because that's what I was kind of tallying up. That is 6 straight games against ranked teams. Nate Oates has never had a stretch like that since he's been at Alabama. So if you look at it from that perspective, this is the toughest challenge he's ever had since he's been at Alabama, made even more anxiety provoking because they've got so much riding on it. This isn't like, January of his first year or, something like that. This is down the stretch of what could be his most talented team that he's ever had. So, yeah, this is big for the Tide. They're back at home on Saturday against Kentucky. Kentucky is going to be smarting after the loss and not covering against Vanderbilt. Bama fans, what you saw, what you were able to produce at Coleman Coliseum from an energy standpoint on Saturday, need to have that same energy this Saturday. I don't know that you can do it, But that's what you
no
need.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not going to happen. Be a good crowd, but nothing like it was for Auburn. So, yeah, I just think this is a really, really tough stretch for the Tide. Auburn, on the other hand, they're really good. But their opposition here on out, they can win every one of them. I expect
they'll be favored in every one of them.
I'd be, they might drop one, maybe something fluky. But, you're right. Auburn will be favored in every one of these games remaining in the regular season. I'm not sure there'll be an underdog in any game they play the rest of the way out.
I remember when I was in college many, many, many years ago at Florida. And I lived in the dorms when I was at Florida, except for when I went to summer school. I was a dorms guy. John never did, but when I was in Florida, I did. And I know in the frat house, you had this guy. We always had this one guy in the dorms who was about 7 years older than everybody else. He normally had the beard and the long hair. And at that time, what I thought was a funny smell coming out of his room. And I'm like, what does that smell? And he always wore sandals, even when it was 40 degrees outside. And he was always the one that when you ask all of your dorm mates, and we're all 18, 19 years old. I was the most naive of all of them. But, golly, I sure would like to get tickets to that REO Speedwagon concert. Well, ask Phil. Phil can get them. And Phil could get you anything, right? Yeah. Phil could get, hey, man, Phil, golly, I got a party coming up, and they said you can help me. And Phil, pulls out the notepad and says, same thing in the frat house. I imagine that you had that one guy that was a little older than everybody else and didn't look like, is he still taking classes? Is he still a student here?
Yeah, his name was Damone.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Auburn basketball team, every one of their starters is like that.
Sure.
Every one of those guys. Chad Baker Mazzara is 25 years old. Not anything wrong with that. Believe me, you're looking at two guys who understand what it meant.
Speaking of Chad Baker Mazzara, buried, I know Monday, our friend Josh Harris, we talked about the little incident with the female fan underneath the goal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found out who she was too.
Did you know her?
I do now.
All right. Yeah, we have a private chat over here on the side. Hit me up on that one right there. But Chad Baker Mazzara is 25. Yes. Denver Jones is 24. Dylan Cardwell's 23. Janai Broome is 22. Miles Kelly is 22. Yahoo Sports points out that the Tigers are the favorites to cut down the nets in April, plus 325 at BetMGM. If they do, nearly the entire team will be able to legally celebrate with a champagne shower. Oh, yeah. You can see in the Auburn locker room, Janai Broome tipping up, I don't know, what is it called, a Magnum? Corbel or something? And everybody's like, oh, my gosh, he's in college. Yeah, he's 22. He's got guys on his team 3 years older than he is. You don't think that helps in negotiating the stretch that Auburn's got, trying to win a championship, trying to win a national championship, to have a bunch of old players? It used to be the Calipari way was to get these hotshot freshmen in, Anthony Davis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, those guys, these hotshot freshmen in 1 year, move them out. They go to the NBA, you bring in another group. John, it ain't like that anymore. It's like CJ Duncan says, you got to have old players now, and through the transfer portal, you can get him. You're losing a guard, you're losing a freshman guard to the transfer portal. We'll get you a 3-year starter in the Mountain West who scored 1,000 career points at Boise State. Get him in there.
Sure.
Get a Denver Jones in there. Get some of those guys in there. That's what it's taken out. You're running towards, you want to win a championship? You better get some old guys.
You better get them, no doubt. All right, when we, I guess it's time for another break.
Let's take one.
Our Victoryland 777 topic wheel. We got a lot of good things going there. Hey, Barry, before we do that, our good friends at River Region Straw delivered seasoned firewood to Phantom Enterprises yesterday. Did a great job. Love their delivery guy. So nice. He's a big fan of cats. We talked about Cats yesterday when he came by to deliver my wood. And I'm not talking about just delivering it, Barry. I mean, loading it up, cart, taking it back to where my wood is stored, stacked it up for me.
Nice.
Man, it looks great. You can have that as well. Plenty of firewood. It's going to get cold over the next couple of days, folks.
Yeah.
The weather's going to be in the 20s at night. So make sure you go by and get your seasoned firewood at River Region Straw. Montgomery location only for pickup. They can deliver as well. So go by the Montgomery location off of Chantilly on Ryan Road. Can't miss it. Pick up your firewood there if you want to, or they'll deliver it for you as well. 669-5959. That's 669-5959. Call or text Kenny today. Your firewood will be there to warm you up during the remainder of the cold days and nights ahead.
With John Longshore, I'm Barry McKnight. We're in association with Yellowhammer News with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
All right, back at it here, about 13 minutes to the top of the hour. I know Chris is excited about the Victoryland 777 topic wheel that is up, ready to go. A lot of good things to check on today to discuss. And, well, without further ado, Barry, what do you say we spin the wheel?
Oh, we got 5 today. I like that. We can knock down 5 easy. Here we go.
Yeah, no doubt. Spin that thing. What is coming up on the wheel? And, okay, number 1 seed.
Yes.
We talked to Brian Matthews a little bit about this yesterday. Is it really a big deal to be a number 1 seed? I think it is, maybe from a, hey, we're a number 1 seed. Kind of like, hey, we made the Final Four. But also I thought Travis made an interesting point about, sometimes being on that 2 line isn't bad either. So is it more just of a number 1 seed?
I wish I knew just off the top of my head, but I don't. What when the last number 1 seed won the national championship? The number 1 overall seed. Right now, according to Jerry Palm, the number 1 seeds and his latest bracketology came Monday morning, which, Auburn and Alabama hadn't played since then, so that shouldn't change. He's got Auburn as a number 1 seed in the South, Alabama as a number 1 seed in the Midwest, Florida as a number 1 seed in the West, and Duke as a number 1 seed in the East. So those 3 out of the 4 seeds, number 1 seeds, are from the SEC. The number 2 seed in the same regional that Auburn is in is Texas A&M. They lost last night, so they're probably not a number 2 seed. Alabama, a 1 seed. The number 2 seed there is Tennessee. Alabama's got to go to Tennessee later on this year. Florida, their number 1 seed. Their number 2 is Wisconsin. And Duke, a number 1 seed. Their number 2 is Houston. Out of all of those number 2s, I think any one of those can win the national championship. The obvious advantage for a number one seed is that you get a 16 seed to start. You get to play, except for one or two examples. You're not going to lose. You get that in. But after that, John, everybody else you can play, and I mean everybody from the second round on can beat you. So really, there's an advantage. But after the first game, that advantage is gone.
Maybe some advantages. I know, like for Auburn, if they're the overall number one seed, they're going to like Lexington and then Atlanta. So it's not like they're traveling far and their fans can go watch them. It's easier, more convenient. More on that from Total Sports Travel, how to get there. We'll give you that information as soon as we get it. If you want to follow the Tide and the Tigers in the postseason. I just right now, today, we'll know more tonight as well.
Yes.
There again, the feeling, the eye test. To me, they are not a number one seed. I don't get the sense, I don't get the feel Alabama's a number one seed. Obviously Duke, obviously Auburn. But I think I could find several other teams that I would be more comfortable in saying is a number one seed over Alabama today, right now. Tonight, we might feel different about that, but at this moment, that's the way I feel.
Then in a week or a week and a half when they play at Tennessee, because to me, Tennessee's had their stumbles. They've had some injuries. But to me, Tennessee, out of all of them, Tennessee and Houston are the two most viable number two seeds. So, if out of other than Auburn that Alabama plays at the end of the year, their biggest challenge is going to be Tennessee. I could see Tennessee winning that game against Alabama, getting to be a number one overall seed. But, the difference is really so thin that it's not much of a difference. So there you go.
And I did there again, Auburn being the overall number one seed, man, playing a little closer to home. That's a huge advantage.
That is big. That is big.
Some of these teams could be out in Spokane. Wow, how fun is that? Okay, let's spin it again, Gern, and see what we got coming.
I love it when John uses his wheel voice. Who knows what'll happen next?
Big wheel. Well, you're thinking prediction. What could this be? Is it too early?
Hillary and Bill will not be married. Well, anyway.
Are they married today? I don't know. Is it too early to get the prediction for the Atlanta Braves going? Is it too early?
Is it ever too early?
They're going to win over 100 games, and they're going to win their division by double digits, and blah, 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 that we hear every year. And then I'm going to come back at you with, they probably will, and then they'll get put out in the first round of the playoffs. Should I just go down that easy path again? It's worked for me just about every year, unless it's something crazy like, I don't know, COVID or something else like that, or a player letting the ball go between his legs, or I don't know, David Justice closing his eyes and swinging as hard as he can, and it goes over the fence. You got to have stuff like that for the Braves to advance. I haven't seen the Braves play 1 minute of spring training baseball, and probably won't. But I'm just going to go ahead and rest on my laurels and say the Braves are going to get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. That's my prediction.
Here's what I think. I think they'll get in the playoffs. They'll get in as a wild card. I don't think they're winning the division. I think the Phillies or the Mets are better. The Mets got Juan Soto. The Mets spent a lot in free agency. The Phillies, of course, are really, really talented. Atlanta loses Max Fried. They get Jurickson Profar to play left. I like that, but to me, Atlanta is no longer the most talented team in the division. And what's problematic is they may not be the second most talented team in the division.
Well,
I like the Phillies and the Mets, but the Braves will get in as a wild card. But World Series champion, this may not be that year.
It's interesting you say that, Barry. It sounds to me like finally the division in which the Braves play in has gotten a little more difficult. Not one of these little easy street paths that they've been on for so many years.
Here I am giving John a little bone, about, finally Barry doesn't think the Braves will win the division. There's other teams that have kind of caught up to him. So since those other teams have caught up to him, that must mean that the entire division was weak as water and the Braves won it by default. Am I right? No, that's not what I'm saying. You give that man an inch, he'll take a mile.
Have I not been using that analogy, that philosophy for years? I mean, they play the Marlins every other week, it seems like. I mean, they got
two-time World Series champion, by the way.
That's true. That is true. So good. I'm glad to know the Braves are going to have a little tough test in the summers.
JD says the Braves don't make the playoffs and they'll be sellers at the deadline. Jeez.
Love it, JD. That's why you're a two-time caller of the year.
Sometimes when we get on the chat line, they kind of run together. The topics run together. Nothing wrong with them, but it kind of makes me wonder. They're talking about, Don Felder from the Eagles being from Gainesville. Theota says he's more of a Glenn Fry guy, actually more of a Randy Meisner guy who sang the high stuff, like Take It to the Limit. And JD, who follows that up with back spasms in the playoffs. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, Randy Meisner had back spasms in the playoffs? So sometimes those things run together. Let's go back to the wheel.
Let's spin it, Gern. Let's see what's up next on the Victorland 777 topic wheel. We need that game show music playing when we spin the wheel. Uh-oh, whatever the wheel. Oh, there we go. Wow.
White House visit?
Right. White House visit. Barry, I was thinking about this yesterday after we talked about the U.S. hockey team going up to Montreal. And, I mean, as soon as the whistle blew, the gloves dropped, and there were 3 fights that broke out in 9 seconds. And this, of course, probably the majority of it had to do with the Canadians that were in the stands booing during the playing of the national anthem. I don't know what the score was at the end of that game. I don't know what the U.S. has done since that point. But if I'm Trump, I'm getting that team to the White House. I mean, that is to me a perfect opportunity for Trump to needle Canada again, congratulate the U.S. hockey team, and give them some props for dropping the gloves and defending our country for the Canadians booing our national anthem.
Play the national anthem at this White House visit. Did we win those fights?
Well, does it matter? Once the players got on the ice, then the refs showed up. The refs are kind of standing. If they were standing up and fighting, the refs just let them fight.
Yeah.
But as soon as they got on the ice, the refs broke it up.
They see that's a hockey fights. People love them. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the fans go to those games. But they aren't like real fights. You very rarely see a guy just absolutely knock the snot out of another guy in a fight, right?
Well, just think about it, Barry. It's kind of hard to fight on skates.
It looks kind of goofy. Yeah.
You got to dig one of those blades in the ice so you can get some, some footage, or some.
JD reports that the U.S. won. The Canadians hit the ice first in every one of those fights.
Awesome. There you go, JD. Well, Trump, get the hockey team to the White House. They need a visit.
What else we got here on?
Can't let those Canadians be booing us. Thanks,
White
JD.
House
All right,
visit.
Spin it, Gern. Let's see what we got. Let's try to get these last 2 in for today. That'll be a record. Curtis, we'll love this. Krista Bamber will be all over it.
Here we go.
The wheel needs some WD-40 today. Wow.
Let's get it going.
All
yeah,
right.
Come on.
T. Roy, all right, the Trojans, Barry, what's in store? I know you're hitting the road next week, but what about this week?
Yeah, by the way, softball tonight at home against Georgia Tech this evening at 5 o'clock. Men's basketball tomorrow against Louisiana in Trojan Arena. The first place Troy Trojans tip it off tomorrow night at 6. $3 general admission tickets get you in. Also Saturday, 3:33 in the regular season home finale against Coastal Carolina. $5 general admission tickets for those as well, with Trojan Mardi Gras on Saturday's game. Get your tickets at troytrojans.com/tickets if you don't already have them. Goodness knows this first place team definitely deserves your support.
It certainly does. All right, good stuff there. Let's spin it. The last one, Gern, we got on the Victorland 777 topic. We'll spin it to make it official. It's a little lopsided, but hey, it is OTAs.
Yes.
In the NFL, they're called what? Official team?
Organized team
activities.
Yeah.
Team activities.
Yeah.
Barry, is that where we're heading in college football? Eliminating the spring and having OTA. I mean, the college game's kind of leaning toward the NFL in a lot of ways already. We eliminating spring and going to the OTA.
Yeah, you can have 3 scrimmages right now. And one of those is usually your spring game, which is kind of a waste. But the OTAs give you more of a chance for instruction. You got to install your offense and everything. Plus, there's not a ton of hitting in the spring anyway. You're in shirts and shirts and shorts and helmets and shorts first. Then you have a couple of thud practices and all that. You very rarely have like full scale scrimmage type practices anymore. You'll have situational stuff. You'll run a couple of drives here and there and all that, but you're getting away from a lot of the physical contact, the bull in the ring, all that kind of stuff that you used to have. So yeah, I think organized practices where you can do it on your own time without cameras around, where people can look. Now the OTAs will keep a lot of the fans' interest away, which is the one thing that you give up, because that's the only reason why you have spring football games is for the fans. But I think that's what's best for the teams themselves.
I'm with you. I think so too. I agree with you there. All right, tomorrow with the Montgomery Regional Airport getting better the more you use it. We'll be broadcasting live there from the terminal. Are we in the domestic or the international terminal tomorrow? Which one are we broadcasting from?
Let's go domestic tomorrow.
Okay.
John likes them all. He likes every bit of it, he likes his terminals like he likes his beer. Domestic.
You're right about that. So we'll be broadcasting Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, Bart Heisch, our college basketball insider. A lot of guests on the show tomorrow from out at MGM. Want your chats on our River Region Straw chat line. Of course, email us on our Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry email inbox. So much going on. And Barry, Yellowhammer News, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, X, Instagram. So many great ways to follow us. Make sure you check us out.
Our thanks to CJ Duncan from Yellowhammer News Today, Kyle George from Troy Athletics. For John Longshore, I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.